point obviously in diseases like osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. We also held the Sharp Symposium, which was focusing very much on imaging. John Sharp, as all rheumatologists in the audience will know, was one of the fathers of musculoskeletal imaging, and his work led to the development of the Sharp Index, which looks at damage inflicted by rheumatoid arthritis. The OMRAC process, there's an international chair, a group of 5 which covers the globe. Myself from Australasia, Martin Bors from Europe, and then Lee Simon and Vivica Strand from America and Peter Tugwell from Canada. We have conferences, as I said, at 2 yearly intervals. We have a very extensive internet distribution list. And what we've now done is developed webcasts, systems where we can actually vote online between meetings. So a lot of the stuff that was previously only done at an OMRAC meeting may well be able to be done in the future online. And if nothing else, that will have great benefits to the planet, because our carbon footprint will be improved significantly. As I mentioned, we have worked under the auspices of WHO and ILAR, and we have very close collaboration with ULAR and ACR, which I said have actually provided fellowships for young rheumatologists, epidemiologists to come to these meetings and learn and develop as good outcomes researchers. We have an affiliation with the Bone and Joint Decade, and we have a very close affiliation through a number of our core group with the Cochrane Initiative. One of the strengths of OMRAC is really the participation of these 5 groups: health professionals, and that can be any clinician, methodologists, epidemiologists, statisticians, etc. The regulatory agencies, industry, very importantly, but probably the key thing here, the key element here, is the patients. And they've been enormously helpful in terms of looking at the outcome measures that we've used for many years in clinical trials and saying, look, we think this might work, but we can tell you this doesn't work, at least not for us. In terms of the conference process itself, we have very extensive pre-conference meetings, looking at the people that we should get to those conferences. And then at the conference, we present a lot of data. A lot of this data is worked up before the meeting, so that we can present the data saying, look, these are the measures that are used in these particular clinical trials. This is their strengths. These are their weaknesses. These are the data analyses that have been produced. And then these are debated over a very intensive period, usually 4 to 5 days. Those of you who have been to OMRAC meetings know that it's very intense, and some of the decisions can be relatively controversial at times. There's lots of shouting and screaming, but it's all fun. At the end of the day, we can actually come to some sort of consensus. And then the key element here is the interactive voting. OMRAC meetings have been written up over the 20 years in the Journal of Rheumatology. They come out reasonably quickly, and of course they're all posted on the website. In terms of how a measure gets up, we look at the sorts of it has to pass through the OMRAC filter, which looks at, is the measure truthful, does it discriminate, and is it feasible? Can it be done easily? In terms of truth, the sorts of questions that we look at are, is it free from bias? What's the construct validity? The criterion validity? Is it relevant? What about its face validity and its content? In terms of discrimination, will it discriminate between states that are of interest at one point in time, at different points in time? What's the reliability, the reproducibility, and importantly, very importantly in clinical trials, obviously, the sensitivity to change. And then what's its feasibility? How long does it take to carry out the measure? What are the costs? And what's the interpretability? These are all very important in terms of going through the OMRAC filter. And Achieving the consensus of the measures involves the content, the education about the methodology. We have that obviously has to be part of the educational process, and then agreement from the group on the purpose, the domains, and the applicability of the various measures, and then the iteration. How's that actually converted into clinical practice, clinical trial practice? This involves data. It's very important that this is seen to be data-driven, and it is, as I said, highly iterative with lots of discussion. And we've been very keen over the last years to try and make sure, because we do have a lot of dissenters. Not everybody agrees, certainly right from the start, and we make sure we try and allow those people some time. We don't allow them to go on. You've got strict limits in terms of how long you can talk for, but I think it's a very interesting process. This was OMRACT, the website. This was the meeting at Kananaskis, and the picture, and that's OMRACT 10, where we went to Kota Kinabalu. Some people have said that we go to these nice resorts. Well, we do go to these nice resorts, but one of the important things is we take people there because people have to work very hard when they're there. We often make sure that they're relatively isolated, because once we've got people there, we actually don't want them to leave. So it's sort of 24/7. The next OMRACT 12, will be held in Washington, DC. There's a reason for that, because we're very keen to engage a little bit more than we have perhaps in the past with the drug regulators. Obviously the FDA is based in Washington, so they'll be involved in that meeting. But we also obviously want to involve European regulators, regulators from Asia, particularly the Japanese and the Australians, and of course very much and focus very much on drug safety, both with looking at the patient perspective, and this will be very important where we have patient input, and the perspective of the drug. We have wonderful therapies in rheumatoid arthritis in particular, but also obviously in the other rheumatic diseases, but it's very important that these are appropriately tested, and we feel that something like OMRACT does afford a good discussion about outcome measures so that these can be used around the world and we can get some reasonable consensus. Thank you.